Welcome to the Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching YouTube channel, where we help people quit nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content. In today's video, I'm going to be reacting to a recent Instagram post by Logan Paul, where he was smoking a bowl of weed. And I wish I wasn't making this video because it was a few months back in January, I made a video in regards to him quitting smoking weed. And I talked a lot about suspicions of him having Cannabinoid Hyperemesis Syndrome and him struggling with THC or marijuana addiction, which he's openly admitted to on his podcast, Impulsive. Today, we're going to piece together a timeline of kind of what I think happened between January when he quit and now. And this is a hard video for me to make because even though this guy is, multimillionaire in the prime of his business right now, I think really just getting started actually with the things he's going to get done over the course of his life. It's hard. It's sad to watch what I think I'm watching. And I don't know him personally, but I don't think I'm far off on the mark on this.
Weed is a very powerful drug. I don't care who the fuck says it's not a drug. It's a fucking drug. Okay? That's how we're starting the episode. Fine. Yeah. I quit smoking weed on December 24th. And Christmas Eve, for some reason, thank you. Thank you.
You're a pie. You're a pie. Bro, so I stopped cold turkey. It's the only way. It's the best way.
So for those of you who have been following my little substance addiction with weed battle back and forth,
I want to pause real quick. He's going to refer to this substance use addiction as a little thing, my little addiction to weed, my little issue with marijuana. And I used to say this to myself all the time. It's just weed. It's not that big of a deal. It's just weed, as so many people who struggle with marijuana addiction do. And this is not good. This is addiction's way of downplaying the severity of the problem at hand.
I had to call it quits because when I realized that I was high more than I wasn't high, it's a little problematic. You guys know I've been having this little back and forth with marijuana. I can safely say I've kicked it. I've completely kicked my weed dependency. It is so fucking great to be weed free, man. I forgot how clear is the word I'll use.
So I think one of the things we got to ask ourselves is, what benefits did he receive from quitting smoking weed, and why did Logan Paul quit? Everything's going well, it would appear, in this guy's life, right? Big boxing deals, has the new electrolyte drink out, which is actually not a bad product at all. Right? Everything's going good. So why did this guy quit?
It was just a time thing. I noticed I stopped getting irritable. I could eat. My gag reflex that I somehow developed went away. I could sleep again.
Okay. We're going to talk more about that gag reflex because I think that was actually one of the first symptoms he had of this potential cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome.
Nah. I kicked it and I feel so good. I feel so good and just and productive. My productivity has, no joke, 3x.
They say that consistency is one of the rarest traits of a human being. So you were saying time, consistent, like staying on that. Yeah. That's what it did.
Yeah.
You look healthier. I don't know about.
We're going to go from here's Logan Paul talking about how he had to quit weed, how he quit cold turkey, and you could see how legitimately proud of himself he was for quitting. And we're going to listen to more of that later on. And that tells me this is someone who was really struggling with something. And I don't think there's a lot of people that understand that or appreciate that, especially in his audience. He made this new post recently, and there's many reasons why I think he posted this. It was right after a big weekend, several weeks actually, of things that he accomplished. And I think he was falling into that trap of, I'm going to celebrate with weed. So here's my nightcap bowl. He also happened to be with Snoop Dogg this weekend too, or whenever this was, I think. And I think this was kind of out of celebration. And I think it was for justification. So I think he knew, he knows his audience is aware that he was struggling with weed. And he posted this, and you'll see in the comments more validation of people saying, love the last photo, go, man. Love seeing you smoking again, man. Love seeing the weed again, man. You overwhelmingly see those type of comments versus, hey, I thought you quit. Hey, what's going on? Why are you smoking again? You're crushing it in life right now. You accomplished so much in the last several months. Why? And that's the question that we should be asking.
Because the strands nowadays of weed.
I think is it strands?
Strands?
Yeah, either one.
They're so strong in weed pens. The THC concentration in weed pens is so high. It's like 92%, which is so high. And I was high more than I was not high, and it was always out of that fucking kid's pen. That kid's pen. Yeah, you. No, Kevin, you.
It's the
I hate the carts. I hate the weed pens. I keep telling you guys that they're a problem.
oil, right? Is that what
it's the oil? Yeah. So
All right, so he quit, as you guys saw. What were his withdrawals like? Like, what did he go through when he quit, going back in December, early January? Let's listen to what he has to say.
But also, it sucks.
You have withdrawals, huh?
Bro, the first night I was up till 5 a.m. just shaking in bed like a little baby. My throat starts hurting.
Wait. You smoking meth or fucking?
I
what's going
have
on
no
here?
appetite. I have no appetite. I cannot eat. My sleep schedule is messed up. I have no appetite. I'm nauseous. Brother,
Oh my God, you're pregnant.
I'm brushing my teeth, and if the toothbrush makes its way too far back and hits my molars, I gag, bro. I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm like, ugh. And Josie's like, what's happening? And I'm like, I don't.
Okay, that's super important, that gagging. That's a pretty common symptom in the early stages of cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. And there's 3 stages to it. And I think he's actually, at this point, right up to when he quit, was stuck in stage 1. And we're going to talk a lot more about CHS specific to Logan Paul in a little bit and what I think is going on. And I think it's actually pretty serious.
Oh no, I'm just I thought I was a grown man, but wow, it really is a drug. It's not just a plant.
Never thought a day would come where I would be listening to my friend complain about the pain of withdrawing from weed.
Oh, sorry. I meant to.
And here I am going through weed withdrawals while my whole family's celebrating Christmas. And for me, my withdrawals are very like aggressive, man. I don't know what it is, but I get. What are you laughing at?
Imagine me.
No, hold on.
For the past week.
I know. Hold on.
For the past week.
So he was pretty brutal, I guess, to his buddy while he was going through withdrawals. Now, mind you, his buddy Matt here has also struggled with addiction in the past, which we'll talk a little bit about in this video. We'll hear a clip from him to like Xanax, alcohol, heroin, opioids. He was in pretty deep.
I know.
I have a thing, and I want to tell you something. But yeah, I was and am a little bit still extremely irritable.
Yes.
I could not sleep. And I developed a gag reflex, no appetite. It's just like it's a fucking.
How did you know that? What did you figure out?
They obviously lose it on the gag reflex, but all joking aside, that's probably one of the most serious parts of all this is those cannabinoid hyper. He can't eat. He's feeling nauseous, feeling sick, gagging all the time, maybe dry heaving. When he posted that he was quitting, he was clearly soaking. It was presumed like a hot soak, a hot bath soak. Very CHS symptoms.
All drugs have come downs and letdowns, you know. So it's you have to respect the withdrawals no matter what drug it is, but it's definitely you've been going through it, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about CHS. And Logan Paul mentioned this actually on his podcast, but clearly he doesn't have a good understanding of it at all. And that really freaks me out because I think he's suffering from it. And I'm concerned. Like someone who cares, I'm concerned.
And there was a syndrome. There's a syndrome. It's called cannabinoid hyperemesis.
Yeah.
Do you know what this is?
I've never heard of it.
So I don't really know the details, and I'm not a doctor. But after I was throwing up on New Year's, repeatedly all night, it didn't make sense, right? Something didn't add up, and some people were tagging me, and even some of the podcast listeners. There's a new syndrome. I think it's a syndrome. Cannabinoid hyperemesis, it's called.
How do you remember that?
Because
I read all about it.
I read about it because people were sending it to me, and it's for people who, or some people who smoke absurd amounts of weed, I think it's either while they're still smoking or when they stop, experience the nausea repeatedly throughout the day, kind of inexplicable, and they don't know much about this syndrome. But I felt like it was maybe something that I was experiencing.
So it's something that people experience when they are smoking weed. And it's kind of weird because in the beginning, the weed seems to relieve the nausea. So people will typically smoke more in hopes of relieving the nausea, even though the weed is causing it. And if this syndrome goes far enough, you're vomiting, you're dehydrated. I think he had on New Year's Eve a CHS attack compounded with cannabis withdrawal symptoms. So I actually think he had both things going on going into New Year's Eve when he made that IG post where he was super, super sick. He was begging people for IVs. He even wanted to go to the hospital just to get IVs, which is very, very common for people who go through CHS. And I think overall, up until that point, he was stuck in the first stage of cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome before the stage where you vomit. Now, what he's definitely not aware of is that this is, once it happens, it's a lifelong condition. And what I think is happening is he's kind of falling back into smoking again. And it just kills me because here's a dude in his prime, like literally prime, the drink, like getting going. And I don't think he's aware that this thing is a sleeping beast. He obviously read about it a little bit, but doesn't have the understanding of it that I wish he had. And I hope he really watches this video. I hope someone sends him this video. I really do. All right, let's listen a little more about, one of the funny things about weed is people don't really validate it and as a legitimate addiction with legitimate consequences, but it does have them.
There is evidence to support that there are some physical and psychological withdrawals from marijuana, and I think a lot of people play that down.
That's what I'm saying. That's
and
what I'm
I've heard
saying.
so many people talk about it, and I, obviously I gave up smoking weed and went back and forth when I was 16, 17, 18, so I remember it a little bit. But insomnia, usually you're knocked out from the weed. Lack of appetite, usually you have a huge appetite because of the weed. And there's been a lot of people, I think Rogan's talked about this at some point. There's a lot of people who give up weed and they start to feel exactly what you're feeling. I'd say stay in there, champ. Go to Marijuana Anonymous and go to an MA meeting.
Well,
doesn't exist.
Well,
I don't think it exists.
MA is a thing. It is a real thing. I put the link in the pinned comment in the video description.
And I mean, to be honest with you, maybe I sound like a pussy. I was going through it. I was really going through it. And I told George,
like crack, by the way. I just want everybody to know, like his withdrawals is like meth. Like he was sweating. Just that guy looking at me. I'm like, dude, he's blind. He can't really, it's a stick. He's got to go. He's looking at me. You can't see his eyes. He has glasses. He looks like Mike.
And it sucks because again, we're in Stad. Everyone here is so nice and polite, and I'm just causing problems. I want all the smoke, and I don't know why. Like I have a fucking broken hand. What am I gonna do?
Right here, we have Logan Paul again talking more about withdrawals, kind of referring to himself as a pussy. And you can see how many times over and over again he tries to belittle this or downplay it. And I think that's two parts. I think that's his tough guy mentality. This isn't a big deal. He's going to reduce this to not a big deal the most he can, right? And I think that's probably other people that have talked to him. It's tough. He's sitting there next to his buddy Matt, who's gone through withdrawals from Xanax, alcohol, opioids all at once, and who's like, dude, like these are serious withdrawals. So I think Logan Paul's probably a little uncomfortable trying to be like, hey, this is, I'm just going to call myself a pussy to downplay this just so I don't look bad, just so I don't look like I'm portraying weed as bad, or so I don't make a bigger deal of something that shouldn't be a big deal. And I think that's a lot of what society does to a person when they're trying to quit smoking weed by invalidating what a legitimately valid addiction it is. I talk to people where weed has taken away just as many aspects of their life as opioids have from a person, maybe minus death. Right? There's been a few cases of cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome where there's been death. And I'm sure there's been several others that haven't been documented properly because we didn't know a lot about it. But I've seen people lose money, relationships, family. I lost a lot of those things. And there's no need to downplay it. There's no need. All right, guys, I'm going to segment a little bit real quick into Matt's story. He's going to talk about opioid withdrawals. And for those of you guys that have gone through weed withdrawals, I want you to listen to this because I get patients every single day with literally the same symptoms coming off of weed, especially in the case of cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, vomiting, extreme body pain, to points where people are burning themselves with hot showers and hot soaks, hot packs, hot rubs, capsaicin cream, burning themselves because of the amount of pain that they're in. And we say weed can't cause these problems. It does. Just go look at Facebook groups like Cannabinoid Hyperemesis Syndrome Recovery Group. Go look at the Reddit forums. This is serious stuff. And to me, a lot of it sounds very similar to Matt's experience with opioids, heroin, and Xanax.
Conversation with her last night. She wanted to know more about the withdrawals. I spent about 10 days after I gave up methadone, Xanax, prescribed Xanax, heroin, cocaine, and alcoholism all at the same time. At the same fucking time.
Jeez, Mike.
Sweating, shitting, throwing up.
Wait.
Hitting my molar
You're
with
shitting your pants?
Yes.
Really?
Bro, just imagine you have coronavirus times like 1,000. That's what a withdrawal from an actual
Wait, but I'm not
narcotic
trying to be
feels
disrespectful at all. This is a serious question.
Yeah.
Why shit your pants?
Because you lose control of your bowels.
What drug made you do that?
Opiates. Getting withdrawals from opiates.
Okay.
Imagine you're in a. I can't believe we got to this. Imagine you're in a ball.
I can't believe if you go to Amazon, you could buy this right now and know the depth of it.
Imagine you're in a fetal position for a week with no control over anything.
Are you in pain?
Severe pain. It's a flu that will not go away. That is a 10 out of 10.
How long does this last?
5 to 7, maybe 10 days.
I've seen people, guys, where they talk about those exact same symptoms from weed, and I'm not making that up, and it's just weed. They're not bluffing. They're not lying. There's nothing to gain by that. I hear it every day. I get emails, DMs. Hell, I had a lot of that going on. So why did Logan Paul quit, and what were his regrets like? Because he talks a lot about quitting, and he's like, man, these withdrawals were terrible, and it really took things from me. It took from my experiences in life. It took from things. And we're going to listen to a little bit about what weed took from him just in this brief period of withdrawals.
Bro, I've hated myself this past week. I've hated this version of myself. It's the worst. Like, man, I just like, I feel like I'm not great to be around, and it just like, I feel bad, you know, because we're on this nice trip. We spent an absurd amount of money to come to Stade, Switzerland. I don't know if you know anything about Stade, but this is what is it, the like highest like per capita. There was $1 trillion worth of wealth at the party we were at last night. It's so funny, bro. I'm noticing that I literally have to like learn how to be social again, because I've been so used to conversing on weed while high that I like give a fuck, and like now I don't pretty much. And so, like, I'm literally, like, I think I'm awkward.
This is someone who's truly recovering from an addiction, learning how to do basic things again without the drug. I mean, this is clearly was a significant problem for him. This is one of the hardest things for people, and this often leads to relapse. When we quit the drug, we tend to doubt ourselves. Oh, I can't socialize. I can't do this. I'm awkward, right? Just like Logan Paul feels here. And he's saying, I'm having to relearn how to do all of those things again. It just, all of this video footage tells me a few things. One, I do think he's currently suffering from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. I can't diagnose that though for him, but I'd be highly suspicious. And two, I feel bad. This is someone who a lot of people love to hate. I understand why, but just because he has money, just because he's a big YouTuber, doesn't mean that he doesn't struggle with stuff. And I feel like he's legitimately struggling, and I feel like he's falling back into it during a time when he's about to hit his prime, or maybe just bust through his prime. I don't know, no pun intended with his drink. Here's some final thoughts. And if anything, I hope Logan Paul sees this, and I hope he listens to the things that he said himself, not anything I have to say, but his own words to wrap up this video.
Like, I'm even getting a little emotional. Like, I have so much fucking respect for you and anyone who is beaten an addiction, because this shit fucking sucks. And this is just weed. This ain't shit. I swear to God.
I wish someone had called him out there and said, hey man, this is serious. Just because you didn't do narcotics doesn't mean that this isn't super serious. And Matt actually does kind of do that for him at different points throughout these various podcasts. But I you almost want to shake him and be like, dude, no, in your life, in your circumstances, this is narcotics. This is just as bad. Right? It's all very subjective. How we feel. It's very subjective. If someone says nicotine withdrawal is the worst withdrawal they've ever had because they've never done any drugs and it was living hell on earth for them, then it was. We can't take away from that.
If I had an addiction as serious as his, narcotics as serious as heroin, I would not make it out. I would not make it out.
Pretty headstrong. Like when I cut out cold turkey, like I'm done.
It's really good. It's really good for anyone just going through any sort of addiction shit, and Mike will tell you this, but like it definitely is better on the other side.
I hope everything goes well for him. I like watching this guy's career explode. I like watching people become successful. And hey, my contact info is in the pinned comment in the video description. Logan Paul, if you need help with this stuff, it's all confidential. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.